Okay, we're going to look at an example of a circle formula in which the x squared and the y squared have the same number in front, so I know it's a circle, but it's not 1. So that takes one extra step. You see, in order to do the completing the square process, that has to be a 1. So I'm going to factor that 4 out. If I factor that 4 out, that'll make that a 1x squared, right? But if I do it to that, I got to do it to the x term also, because you have to do it out of the whole entire trinomial. Does that make sense? Now I can do my number divided by 2 squared because this has a 1 in front of it. It has to have a 1 in front of it for me to do b divided by 2 squared. So 2 divided by 2 is 1 and squared is 1. Now, let me move since I got more room over here, let me move this so it'll look right. So now I've got this blank pulled in, but I don't have that one because that's not 1. What is it? That's right, because you got to redistribute this back out and get 4. Because you took the 4 out, but you got to put it back in to put it up there. And you have to do that because that's what the number on the other side needs to be. So, you fill that 4 in up here. And that's why you have to take it out to figure out the blank, but then you got to redistribute to do the blank on both sides. Same thing here. I need to take this 4 out. Okay, if I take that 4 out, then I end up with 6 divided by 2 squared is 9. But when I fill in the blank up here, it's going to be 36 because I got to redistribute the 4. And that fills in the 36 over here. Then I've got to make my parentheses squared, and that 4 just stays out there for a little bit. We'll deal with them in a minute, but we got to deal with the inside first. So what would this parentheses be for the x's? If you square root it and take the sign for the middle. X minus 1. And what about the y's? Y plus 3. All right. And that's 40 minus 15, which I think is 25. Is that right? So last but not least, to finish this question, you got to divide the whole problem by 4 because it can't have anything from the parentheses to be in standard form. And that may look nasty to you, but actually it's not too bad. This is the center of 1, negative 3. Everybody agree? What's the square root of this? 5 halves. 2.5. No. Now, what if I couldn't square root both of them? Then I'd be rationalizing. Or take a picture. All right, I'll pause it and let you take a picture. So let's look at the example of the parabola one. All right, so this is our problem for parabola. So let's see. Well, I'm going to have to do it differently. I didn't write it all at one time.
I need the following students to come to the office: Isaiah Stewart, Brianna Lester, Jacob McGee, Jared Long, and Taylor Shelton.
All right, based on what we learned yesterday about parabolas, these two squared and linear terms go together because they're both the same variable, right? And we learned that everything in a parabola goes to the other side, so these are both going to become positive. And we're going to need a blank. In parabolas, you never have more than one blank on each side. Circle, you have one blank for every linear term, but parabolas can only have one on each side because you only have one linear term. Now, I do the same thing. I take the 3 out because I can't work it unless I do. Completing the square only works if that number is a 1. X has to have a 1 in front of it. So if x squared has a 1 in front of it, then I can take 4 and divide it by 2 and square it, which is 4. And then I multiply these two back together, and that gives me the 12 to fill in the blank. Then I can make this into a parentheses squared now. That'll be x minus 2. Wait a minute. Up here, I need to add my like terms. Well, it'd help if I could write. 24y, what, 50? No, 48. 48. All right. So I need to take the 24 out because that's what we learned yesterday. No matter what's in front of y or x, you got to take it out. How many times is 24 going to 48? Okay, good. At least it divides evenly. If it don't, you still divide it out. But I can't have a 3 here. So divide by it. Now it looks like what we talked about yesterday, where we got 2, -2, and this is going to be c equals 2 because 4 times 2 makes 8, right? And it's going to move y up 2 from that to make the focus. So it's just one extra step to deal with here, and then a little divide to get rid of it. So that's one of the big issues with this type of math. It has a little bit more going on sometimes. But did any of them last night have numbers in front of the squares? Okay. Well, I don't know if the ones on the quiz do or not because I didn't take time to look at them and I've already printed them. So that's why I wanted to show this today because it is one extra step. Now, did you take a picture? Did you want to take a picture? Okay. And then I'm going to go back and in the video I'm going to talk about those 3 slides again for the people who are watching. All right, so one last time. You're going to have 8 questions where you identify, and I want sentences. So you're going to tell me the name of the comment, and you're going to tell me the sentence. It tells me, like, with the sentence. So if I was talking about this one, I would say this is an ellipse because it has 2 squares with addition, but different numbers underneath. And then the second part of the test is going to be 2 questions where you pull out the numbers, but one of them you're going to have to complete the square, and 2 where you put the numbers back in the formula and write the actual formulas. And it might be a little different from this example because this center and this radius is given. So this one more than likely will give you a diameter or give you 2 points. And then the third type of question is about parabolas. And with the parabolas, you're looking at 1, you can pull the information out. 1, you got to complete the square, and then 2, you're pulling the information into the problem, but I might not even give you all the information, so you might have to graph it to figure it out, like this focus and directors. So we okay? We think? So that's 16 questions for this quiz. So if you have a problem that you don't understand off the packet, like for the parabola packet, did y'all have anything you didn't quite understand? It was okay? Well, then more than likely you'll probably be good on most of what's on the test. This is the only part that most people have trouble with is the one up in the top right corner because sometimes they forget how to complete the square. And like I said, I don't know if it's got a 1 in front of it or not. I didn't look, which is why I want to go over that. All right, let me stop this video.